now, Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm your host, Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Let me share a little bit about my background before we get started. I am the broker-owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, a boutique firm that is home to over 30 real estate sales and marketing agents who service home buyers and home sellers throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my co-host Melissa Wallace and I will provide you with my team's unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We value the experience of our agents at Boston Connect Real Estate so much that not only will you hear my perspective on real estate topics, occasionally you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of our experienced agents at Boston Connect Real Estate. Be a part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with me at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate. And good morning to all my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara. I am the broker-owner of Boston Connect Real Estate. That is the sponsor of our show here on WATD. I have my sidekick with me. Good morning, Melissa Wallace. She's the Director of Operations and all things that happen around here at Boston Connect Real Estate. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. And, of course, we have the one and only Tim McKinney in the WATD studio. Good morning, Tim.
Yes, hello. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. So, yeah, it's just feeling like one of those little bit of a sluggish day. It would just be nice to wake up with the sun shining, don't you think?
Yeah. Couple more days.
Yeah.
Well, definitely a couple more days for you.
Yeah.
Shining,
so. I'll be somewhere soon to get some sunshine, but...
Well, you know, it's March. It comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb.
Yeah. That's true.
Still in the lion phase.
Yeah, well, I just heard on the news on my way in here on WATD, where I get all the best news. Elon Musk is thinking about, he's offered to pay the TSA workers. I say, let him do it.
Yeah.
Let him do it. He got the do-re me.
Yes,
Let him do it.
Yep.
Why not?
Yeah, people in line for hours and hours just to get to where they want to go, and they just want to seek some sunshine. So, so, you know, this is a good, like, I feel ho-hum. All right, I'm just going to put it out there. It's just the weather, for criminy sakes. But today we're talking about the emotional side of real estate and how feelings shape buying decisions and selling decisions. And on my way in here, I know you had told me the topic yesterday, Mel. On my way in here, I was thinking about the emotional aspect of it from a real estate perspective as well for the real estate agent, because we go through a lot of these emotions as well when we're working with our clients, you know. So
there's a section here.
Oh, there is. Oh, look at that. I didn't even have to look at the agenda. You just know.
How we just sort of help guide you through. Some need hand-holding, some need cradling. And some just don't want to be touched at all. So.
Yeah. And I'll say for us, like I was going to say, and some deserve to be like sort of pushed off the ledge there, you know what I mean? But like we don't really have.
I mean, I don't think we're pushing anybody off the ledge, but maybe keeping them on. Keeping them on the ledge.
Well, and I think that's important, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of emotions that go with all different types of, you know, transactions, you know, and for me, I've been doing, like this year, I've had, 4 or 5 closings with different people. And, you know, one was, you know, selling her home where she raised her 3 children and brought her mom in to live with her. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that was like the emotions evolved around that. And then the emotions, like there are a lot of emotions, and the emotions involved with that or revolving around that is, you know, exciting next chapters, but then the emotional aspect of, all right, I have someone to buy my home, but I have no place to go, so I'm going to rent. So there's another layer. And then it's finding that forever home down the Cape, which we're going to be closing on next week. And, the excitement of that, but the process of I have to move again out of the apartment, so there definitely are a lot of emotions that go along with it, and us trying to pivot around with them.
It's also about setting expectations. So just making sure that, they are aware that we are aware that it is an emotional time. You've sold 700 and something homes
over
in
over 750, yeah,
in your career. So, I mean, it can become repetitive for sure, but at the end of the day, you're helping humans and you understand their emotions, and that's going through no home sale, home buy is the same.
Yeah.
So that is probably 750 unique experiences, especially for those who are doing it for the first time or doing it for the first time in 50 years.
Yeah.
So it's navigating all of that. Essentially being a therapist.
And it really is. And, and then, everybody, knows, one of my, past clients and, every week listener, he was in recently, and we're going to be putting his house on the market. So hold on, Marshfield, we have something good coming your way. So, it's going to be, someone who's moving out of state and helping with that transition. I mean, there's emotions involved around that as well. But, when I hadn't seen him, in a while. And, one of the things he said, first said was, I'm sorry about the loss of your dad. I was listening to the show and stuff. So as we're trying to navigate everybody else's emotions and keep everybody on track, and that's our job, is to, keep, we're very much in charge, not in charge, but in control of, all the aspects and transactional parts of the, the whole thing, buying or selling a home. But as we're also trying to sort of level your emotions through it, help you through it. There was a time in my career, Mel, I used to say, don't worry, give me your stress and I'll take care of it. I literally physically was getting sick. I'm an empath.
Do you say that now?
I do not say that anymore. I had to learn how to say that, to get rid of that, because I was, as an empathic type of person, I was picking up on all of that. So now I just say, don't worry, I'm going to help you manage your stress.
Yeah.
Right. And I think knowledge.
That's a better statement.
Yeah. Knowledge and communication. Don't you think it is? I think it all comes down to communication. So long as you're always communicating, that should always help people. But I just wanted, with last year, I was going through a lot of emotions myself. I had to take a lot of time off, with my dad in, May. It was April, May, right after Easter, and then again in December, right before he passed. There was a lot of emotions, and you, by the way, saw it across the hall from me, all the calls and everything in between that no one really knew about, right? And it was a lot, and the emotions of that. But I will say, I certainly won't talk specifics about certain things, but remember I said I have no regret about spending all that time with my dad. So this is the emotional part for me as a real estate agent. I have no regret that I spent that time with my dad. I had to, right?
Yeah.
I was who he had in his life. And, no other visitors. It was really hard. So me and Mark were the ones doing that. But then I felt as if the emotional part that was hard for me is I let people down. I felt like I let people down that were, waiting for me, to do, CMAs for them and to do, to follow back up with them. And unfortunately, I had to take a couple hiatuses. That's hard to say. Hiatus. What is it? But I had to do that twice last year. So I did feel as if I let some people down. And then, I'll be honest, it was it's sort of shocking to me when I was going through MLS and looking through some stuff yesterday, and somebody that very much had a good relationship with, and Mary was following up with in my absence and everything. I mean, I was busy, that they chose to list their property with somebody else. And as much as I respect that from a professional standpoint, I knew I could only do what I could do. It's still the emotional part of that was, wow, I really felt like I had a good relationship with that person. And I wish that they had at least just called me and said, Sharon, I'm listening to the show, or, I can see different things are going on, or, hey, I haven't heard from you. What's going on?
I don't think that that's on you, and I'm not just saying this because, obviously
you
I
love
love you. But here's the thing. It's harder for people to pick up the phone and have that conversation. It's hard to say, hey, I know I have a connection with you and a relationship with you, but I'm going to sell my house with somebody else because you have to tend to your father. I mean, nobody wants to have that conversation. So a lot of people just avoid it. So unfortunately, sometimes people do ghost you in real estate and then end up going in a different direction and just not having that clarification of like what I could have done better. Because had you asked her the question, was she supposed to say, not be with your dad?
Yeah.
No.
And that's what I mean is like, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, there are so many emotions. I mean, think about it from her perspective as well. And his perspective is, we really did have a good connection with Sharon, her husband. I was over there several times over the past several years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, like, at the end of the day, they chose a very good agent. I really have high regard for like, it has nothing to do with the transaction part of it, the work part of it. It's the emotional part of it that sort of hit me in the gut yesterday, thinking in my head, wow, because I chose to take care of the person who meant the most to me in my life growing up and everything else, I made that decision to be with him until the very last breath. That was the reason why someone didn't choose me and pick me, and I still have no regrets.
Well, I don't even know if that's necessarily the case because Mary was following up. Yeah. So it is, it is. I mean, we're being real here. This happens in real estate. We get it. We think that it is important for everyone to, whether you're a buyer or a seller, to interview multiple agents and
100%.
make sure that you have that connection with them. But when you do, have a relationship with somebody and you sort of nurture that for a little while and then all of a sudden you're gone.
Well, the photography was set up.
Yeah.
Like we had the photographer set up. Like this isn't like, oh, you're one of many. We have the photographer set up.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunately it happens and it doesn't get any easier as, after 750 homes, it still stings.
Yeah. But again, it isn't about not getting
it's not
listing.
It's not about getting the listing.
Wow, like I just read that all wrong, But
yeah, I mean, people do strange things every day.
Yeah.
People are strange.
And here's the truth. I mean, the truth of it is it actually came on the market last year and I didn't even notice it because I was with my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then it expired and then it came back on the market, So like I didn't even, it wasn't even in my radar. I was focused on my dad. And again, zero regrets for that. But I do want to give a public announcement. If, you were in the process of getting in touch with me last year and you felt as if I fell off the earth, please know that is not how my MO and my work standard and, my professionalism. So please, have a little grace with me. And if you've moved on, I 100% respect that. But I just feel I need to apologize for maybe not being there 100% for the people who perhaps needed me.
Liz, our listener here on the South Shore, says that's awful. She deserved at least a phone call.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that. Liz is always on my side.
Liz really is always on your side.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's just, one of the little things, the emotional waves that go through this. So not only are home buyers and home sellers going through it, we as real estate agents tend to have a little bit of that as well. And, one of the, I think, there's emotions for everybody right now, and home buyers in particular, just because in our area with the lack of inventory, and I think in other areas like our sand states, like Arizona and Florida and some of the other cities or big states, their issue is too much inventory. So the emotions are falling heavily on sellers. Yeah.
Or builders.
Yeah.
I mean, we say that, there's not a ton of emotions in new construction, but I think when you have a huge development and nothing is selling, it probably gets emotional at some point.
Oh, yeah. Well, it gets, I think it's nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Yeah. Emotions.
Lots
of emotions. So when, you do have those larger developments down in those states that have a lot of inventory, it can be tough. But we're here in Massachusetts.
And we're talking about emotions, and you're going to hear something. Okay, so I just want to say, that is not me cracking a beer, by the way. That is me opening my bubbly seltzer water.
Although you do enjoy an occasional ice cold beer in the summertime, which you're not a beer drinker.
I'm not a beer drinker, but every so often, there's like once a summer, I'm like, I just want
You like the
beer.
Line and Kugel.
Yeah, I like that. I just, that's right.
Nice hot coffee for me. So today was more heavily focused on buyers and the emotional part of that. I know that we can do an entire show, probably more than one show, about the emotional aspect of selling your home, probably, whether you've been in there for forever or, you thought it was your forever home or it's your starter home, things like that. But we're going to sort of shift a little bit to, the buyers, and I'll propose this question. Are buyers choosing homes or homes choosing buyers? So we're going to sort of talk about the emotional side of real estate and, why buyers fall in love with homes, how emotions can cloud judgment, and how to make smart decisions without losing that excitement. That was, I think, part of my home journey. I was nervous that once I was under agreement and it was, definitely going to go through, I was afraid that I was going to lose the excitement because it was sort of over. But I was ready for it to be over.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to lose the excitement. So I did not look at anything else that came on the market.
Sometimes I still see people that are still out looking at houses, even though they already have the one that they're getting. And I was like, why are you continuing to look?
I did not want to torture myself like that.
Well, it's FOMO, right? I think we talked about that.
We have a FOMO section.
Oh, really?
We do have a FOMO section.
Okay, so I'll wait.
Jess Page is watching. Hi, Jess Page.
Good morning, Jess.
She's an agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate. We gave her a little shout out last week about her Just a Clip barbershop in Bridgewater Center. So congratulations to that. I saw that she was bringing on another barber. But she says buyers also fall in love with neighborhoods and will do anything to get into that neighborhood, even if the house doesn't fit them fully.
That's a really good point, Jess.
Oh my God, we have so many agents watching. Faith Birmingham, full-time agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate as well. Good morning, ladies. Tracy Grady, good morning, ladies. Full-time agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate, the Grady team.
Yeah. And one thing with Jess, I just want to say, Just the Clip is in Bridgewater Center, and one of the things I love about Jess and some of the marketing that she's been doing, she is the wife of a veteran, and she is giving discounts to veterans, first responders, seniors, and children. So, and she has 3 adorable little boys herself. They're not little anymore.
No, they're not.
When Tommy turned 5 a couple weeks ago, I thought I would fall off the couch when I saw that. I was like, he is not 5.
We remember when she brought him home to us.
I know. Here at the office. I know. And he threw up all over the place.
Yeah.
But anyways, congratulations, Jess. Just the Clip, Bridgewater Center.
So I want to talk a little bit about why buyers fall in love with a home. So whether it's a neighborhood or anything like that, but there's a section in here about sensory triggers, and we have done a show. I
love my favorite show.
We'll do it again this year.
Is it funny that my favorite show, sorry to interrupt you, but that's where I am right now, is like one of my favorite shows is all about the senses, and if you think about it, that smell and everything, right? Yeah. And then one of my other favorite shows is Title V.
Well, I was going to say about septic systems. How crappy. Sensory triggers. There's a whole, section that we're going to be talking about. So, we do a show about the 5 senses and how that relates to real estate and, walking through a home, and, first impressions matter. And first impression is within seconds of walking in the door. And we have also talked about the first impression starts online. Kristen Howlett, who is a full-time agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate, her and I did a show a couple weeks ago about how your first impression is online. And so doing professional photography and everything like that, floor plans, really does matter. So walking into the home is your first impression in real life, in reality. So it's the smell, it's lighting. Is there natural sunlight? Does that matter to you? The layout, the flow of the home. Can buyers imagine their life in that space? And you talk about that a lot when we talk about staging and, we're selling floors, we're not selling rugs. So pull up that, carpet in the center of the room that's, sort of drawing your eye there, things like that. So can they see themselves hosting holidays, raising a family if that's what they choose to, or having lots of dogs, any lifestyle upgrades, things like that, that have to do with your sensory triggers when you walk through the door.
And it's one of the things I say to my buyer clients as well, and with the people that just bought down in Pine Hills. Yeah. And we've been working with them for a year and a half. I met them at one of my open houses and several years ago, or not several, it was like a year and a half ago, I guess. And I said to them, like, they wanted everyone to fit. Every single house that came up on the market, they'd be like, all right, we're going to go to this open house this weekend. Can we go see this property this week? Blah, 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 blah. And we'd go. And I felt as if she was getting sort of deflated by the process, because I felt like she wanted to love everyone that she went to, but it just wasn't there. And I remember, and she brought this up to me recently. She goes, I'll never forget. You said, don't worry. You will know as soon as you walk in when it is the one, right? And that's how she feels about her place now. Me and Mark went over for dinner. I had to meet her to notarize some papers for the property that we're selling in West Bridgewater, and they had us over for dinner. So we had a great dinner and hung out, but had the whole place painted and it's all clean and it's all her stuff. And she's like, it's just perfect.
It's like finding the right partner. Like, you just know when you know. Yeah. Someone recently asked me, how did I know that Ethan was the one? And I just sat there for a second. I said, well, I've never been asked that question. I never really thought about it, but he's my best friend, and I don't want to spend a day without him. And that's how you sort of know.
Well, that's not happening on The Bachelorette these days. Holy moly. I caught up on that scandal today.
Well, it was kind of a scandal that she was The Bachelorette anyways, and now none of those guys are going to be on TV. Sorry about it, buddies.
All that wasted time.
All that wasted time. Yeah. But, like I said, about the sensory triggers, so buyers don't necessarily see the home. They see the future life that they have in that home, or at least some do. Yeah. So, that's imagining, again, holidays in the dining room or the living room, or, kids playing in the backyard, or dogs running around, or your cat perching in the window.
We've always sort of had that mindset of, and that's why when I'm a listing agent, and I know my hat always flips over to that side of a transaction, but as a listing agent, I've never taken my remarks. I mean, we get 1,000 characters or something. I've never made that like colonial 4-bedroom, 3, 2.5 baths or whatever. I always make it more about the lifestyle, because that's what people are buying. Yeah.
And like we said a little bit ago, buyers describing sort of a gut feeling, or you telling your buyer, you're going to know. There is a gut feeling that you're going to know that, like, this is the one and you don't want to let this go. And then the emotional part, the emotional purchase comes into play. But, sometimes that this is it moment can sort of override your logical part. Yeah. And that's when the agent comes back into play and it's like, okay, we got to show you the numbers.
And that is true. And that's why, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Was it last week? We just talked about artificial intelligence, and I talked a little bit about like how I feel as if the sale price of houses right now is artificially inflated, and it's artificially inflated because we have low inventory. When there's low inventory and this buyer pool that we have, which is big, they're all going after the same houses because there aren't many houses to choose from. So everybody's outbidding everybody. That's artificially inflating it. It's emotional value that's driving up that price, not the market value.
Well, the emotional part of it too can sometimes blind you of like layout, like maybe the layout's not going to work. Like, going into a home and just falling in love, automatically because it's available. You sort of sometimes you could stop, I said, just the rug, like your eye stops there, your eye stops. Oh, there's a, there's a wall there, but the limitations that property might have, things that you can't change, like location. You may fall in love with a home, but it might be not in the greatest location that you prefer. So overlooking some of those things.
And I try to tell people the opposite of that, to be quite honest. Like I always say, you can never change a location. You can always change a house.
Yeah.
I'd much prefer that somebody chooses the location that they really want and really can see themselves in, whether it's short term or long term, because you never know where life is going to bring you and where those chapters are going to bring you. So I think knowing that you're in an area that makes the most sense, like if you fall in love with a house because it checks all the boxes, but it's an hour and a half to your job.
Yeah.
Think about that.
It takes me 8 minutes to get to work, and I love that.
I'm surprised it even takes that long. How fast do you drive? And that's a lot. That's a long time from your house.
Okay, I'm not going to put myself on blast, but I will put myself on blast. There was one time I got pulled over for speeding coming to work, and I'm like, I need to relax. It only takes me 8 minutes. Nothing happened. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it took me 3 minutes to get here today. I hopped in the shower at 7:30
we know that you're on 2 wheels coming in. So it is a good thing we don't have to drive to Marshfield. I mean, we love you, Tim. We would love to see you in person.
Yeah,
but
I
we
actually
would just
want to. Can we go into the studio sometime, Tim? Can we come back? Just so we can hang out with you one morning.
Tim doesn't want us to because he knows we'll never make it.
Of course you can. The studio's always open from 8 to 9, please. Yes.
From 8 to 9, and that's it.
Well, no. Well,
We have other shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said
people related to you come in for the next hour. So,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
And they might even let you stay.
Yeah. Oh, but maybe we can do a back-to-back show. I haven't done one of those in a while with Alyssa.
Yeah.
So we have to do that. And I actually heard Michael. Does Michael do a show live on Sundays? Do you know?
No, that's a rebroadcast usually of the week, the Saturday before.
Okay, yeah. But for our listeners, if you would like to chime in here, of course, we always drag Tim into our conversations, but if you want to talk to us, feel free. 781-837-4900 is our number here. And you'll go to the studio. If you want to send us a text, you can. I think someone sent us a text message last week, someone who knew more about AI than we did. Yep. So 781-837-4900. We'd love to hear from you this morning, whether it's about the emotional aspect of things or if it's anything to do with real estate. You just have a question for us. But I'd love to hear from people like, if you recently sold or you recently bought, like what was the emotional trigger for you that you didn't anticipate? And just so you know, like, I think the emotions that go along with this, like I said, it's communication. Like we continue to communicate before they do. The hard part about communication sometimes is if our clients are thinking about something before we're actually at that milestone in the process, then that's when they sort of get stressed. But, I had a thought about that and I just lost it. Just like that.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
But Melissa Clemens, who is also a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate, is watching. Hello.
Good morning,
and
Melissa.
Congratulations to Melissa. She recently had her first sale here at Boston Connect Real Estate.
Yes. Congratulations.
And I believe she has a new listing coming on as well, working with some buyers. So she's doing the thing.
Yeah, new listing coming on in Hingham for Melissa. So that's going to be good.
Yeah.
We have a lot of new stuff coming on the market. So
we have a lot going on.
A couple in Marshfield, actually. I'm going to be going somewhere today. To take do some stuff.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
very nice. Okay, let's get into the emotional versus logical decision making. So I'm going to ask you some emotional decisions. What does that look like in real estate? Some of these emotional decisions that, might not be the best.
Yeah. Okay. So I love this house. I like this house. Let's go back to you even saying that. Like, I like this house. This house is good enough. But I really love the fact that my mother lives 2 houses down. I'm having a baby, and my mother is going to be watching that baby when I have the baby. So is it really, I have to have this house because it checks all the boxes? Or is it emotional because, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much better for me? So emotionally, you're attached to not so much the house, but the situation, just like you were saying, right? It's all the emotions around, maybe the neighborhood or things like that. So we do see a lot of that. We see a lot of people moving now, I'd say like more my generation, because our kids are, they're starting to have their own children and stuff. So that's always, I want to be closer to my grandkids. I want to be closer to my grandkids. So we see a lot of that happening, and that's the emotional aspect of it.
Yeah. I think the biggest emotional aspect on it, we talk about emotional value. So offering, maybe over asking without reviewing comps. Something that's really big, with putting in an offer on a home is making sure that the value is there. And, you do a great job with your buyer clients of, letting them see and understand what the market value is, but we can't gauge the emotional value. That is something that comes with the buyer, and they have to be able to afford to put in an emotional offer, but it does happen.
And that is, it really is an important part of this whole process for me, because, and what I say to people is, my job is to help you as a listing agent get the most amount of money with the best terms and condition. Like when people send love letters, I'll let you know that there's a love letter. It's up to you if you want to read it or not, right? There's some fair housing, considerations that go into play with that. But I also think from the buyer perspective as well, with the emotional value is, the logic part of it is for me to say, okay, when people will say to me, well, do you think I'm overpaying? Like if I go over asking, am I over? I don't want to overpay. No one wants to overpay for anything. I don't want to overpay for a pair of shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Never mind a house where it could have long-term effects if anything ever switched in the market. But I think that, it's my job to make sure that you're not, I'll tell you where that range is based on other homes that are similar in style, condition, and neighborhood. I'll let you know this is where I think the value of this house is. It's with, between 500 and 525. That's where I think that this is the value of the house. Anything above and beyond that, I do not have an emotional gauge. I can't tell you. I cannot give anybody advice. And they always lean into me and they always say, but what do you think? What do you think?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think it's worth 500 to 525.
Yeah.
What you think after that is totally up to you. Not that I don't want to get myself like stuck in a situation where you told me that I should overpay. I'm letting you know if there are multiple offers on this property, chances are it's going to be at asking price or above. You are the only one who can gauge that emotion of how bad you want it. Because maybe you want it a little, maybe you want it a lot. If you wanted a little, go 5,000 over. If you wanted a lot, go 50,000 over. We've seen 100 over. I mean, that's what I can't gauge.
And also, it's having that conversation of what happens if that property doesn't appraise at your emotional value, and having that before you even put that offer in. What are you going to do? Because the seller's going to come back and say, "Well, that's what you offered me. Can you come up? Can you come up with the difference?"
Yeah.
Things like that.
And as a listing agent, I'm looking at that too. Hey, if you give me an offer, my client an offer, not me, but if you give my client an offer and it's, $50,000 over the list price and you're only, putting 3% down for your loan, like I know it's not going to appraise. This house is going to appraise between 500 and 525 based on all the comps that I have. So you going over, I mean, as a listing agent, I have to be very well aware of that. Now that's another emotion where if we do, another show on that is the seller looking at, wow, somebody's willing to pay me $50,000 more for my house than it's actually worth. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's worth 500 to 525. Someone's willing to give you 575. But some of the other emotions that go along with that, Sharon, was this underpriced? Nope.
Yeah.
This was somebody's emotional value.
Yeah. And then again, having that conversation with the seller, this is somebody's emotional value. We need to have the discussion with that buyer's agent to say, if it doesn't appraise, how is your client going to come up with the difference?
Yeah, how are they compensating that?
How are they compensating that? getting back to the beginning of our conversation, it popped into my head. So, with taking the hiatus last year and spending that time with your dad, you did bring on somebody to help you with one of your buyers, and that was Matt Mahoney. And he was familiar with the area that your buyer wanted to purchase in. He swooped in. He had a great conversation with her. He showed her the numbers and said, this is what the range is for that area, for that property. Anything above that is the emotional value. And your client was able to make a decision of, okay, this is what I'm willing to do for emotional value over, but I'm not going over that threshold. And she didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was really good about it. And he's really good when he does the whatchamacallit. That's just a reminder.
Yeah.
If you could give me a reminder next week. So what Matt Mahoney is really good at is, let's not go back and forth. That's emotional in itself. You know what? Hey, this is my highest and best.
He's a very matter of fact.
Yeah. And that's it. If you want it, great. If you don't, you don't. And then when the seller came back and said, oh, I have another counter offer, he's like, no, you weren't getting it. This was their highest and best. We're done.
Yeah.
TTFN.
Yeah.
That house is still on the market.
Yeah.
It went under agreement, then it came back on the market. Shame on that person.
Yeah, and now she's purchasing something else.
Yeah, it all worked out perfectly because this is a much better house and a much better location. But think about the emotional part of that, right? As the seller, he's like, oh, look at this. The first week I'm on the market, I already have an offer. It isn't full price, but I'm going to get all kinds. So he's excited as a seller, someone who flipped a property. And now it's sitting on the market and it's not selling at all. I'm not laughing at that, by the way. It's just, it's ironic that it's still on the market, and his emotions are probably on the opposite side of that scale right now.
Yeah, it's still on the market because the market is telling him that that's not what the value is.
Sometimes the market will gently knock.
Yeah.
Knock, knock. You're overpriced. And then sometimes it will be here's a 2x4 by the head to the head.
I think the only exception is new construction, because that does tend to sit on the market a little bit longer because it's being built, or even if it's a model home, it's having the vision. So I think the only exception to the rule is really new construction, or even antiques. I would say antiques
stay on a little bit. It takes a different buyer for that. But back to that situation, it was funny because that was literally when my father died, and Matt took over for me. So thank you again, Matt, for doing that. But I was in between things. I was checking, and I didn't even know what the offer was going to be and all the conversations that Matt was having. But I had a little downtime at something, and I was like, I knew the property that she was looking at. So I did some comps myself, and Matt and I came in at basically the same exact number. It was off by a couple $1,000s, for our initial offer. So numbers don't lie. Yeah. That's one of the things that I really love about that aspect of our job. It's the emotional aspect of it afterwards that, we can't gauge. So,
any more sort of emotional decision making before we get into the logical part that you want to talk about?
Emotional.
Stretching beyond budget. Just because it seems like the right fit.
Yeah, I see people do that, but we never recommend that. We never want. If you're saying I'm going to give up my Starbucks so I can afford a house, you can't afford the house. You just can't. A cup of coffee isn't going to do it. We've had shows on this in the past as well, where you have to be prepared. You have to have, a budget put aside. This is one of the things that actually Michael McNamara talked about last Sunday's show. Mark and I were listening. We had to drive to Dedham, and actually we'll have a listing coming on out there soon too. And I was listening to his show last week on Sunday, McNamara on Money here on WATD, and he was talking about that aspect of things is, people who stretch themselves, they're stretching to what they can afford, but they're not leaving a budget for themselves of if the water heater goes or if something happens, and you very much have to be prepared for those things, So we don't like people to stretch beyond their means at all.
Yeah. Some logical decision making looks like reviewing comparable sales. So we talked about that, evaluating condition and long-term costs. So things that may come up during a home inspection. Do you have the means to fix those things, or do you have the means to fix them 5 years down the road. Understanding resale value. I know that you have that conversation with your buyers. You know, every time they're thinking about putting in an offer, you're already thinking about when they go to sell that resale value. And then sticking to budget and financing limits.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is as you were talking, and when I just finished that other thought that I had is, the emotional, when we're talking about emotional value, then what ends up getting, an emotion could be nervousness, an emotion could be resentment. And you never want to be in a house that you stretched yourself for and have that, the emotion of, oh my gosh, I overstretched. I shouldn't have done this. And then you have resentment towards the house. And then it causes problems, in marital situations where why did we overextend ourselves so much? And, maybe it was one of the spouses, that, was like, no, I definitely want to go. And I definitely want to do this, or I want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can do it. We can do it. And then you have your first baby. And then you're like, I don't want to go to work. I'd like to be able to stay home with the baby. Now you can't, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a lot of emotions that go to, I always say, if you can afford $500,000, look at $450. You know what I mean? To give yourself some room to, go over asking.
Yeah. And I think the goal isn't to remove emotion from it. It's to be able to manage it, to be able to manage your emotions during the whole process. And that's a lot of the times people lean into you. But we'll get to the FOMO part of our show. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, just with the managing your emotions, it's you always do a great job on the show, but today you're triggering me like with these, oh yeah. So managing your emotions, and it goes back to communication, right? So I think that people seem very much in control and their emotions seem very much at bay when we're doing a good job communicating.
Yeah.
It's always when there isn't communication that things seem to get a little out of place. Now, a few weeks ago, we had a show, and I guess the word would be went off on like some of the stuff we were seeing with attorneys and things like that. So for us, and I'm seeing that even more and more now, like our job and our role is, okay, this is our lane. And then it's like, oh, when do we do the wire transfer? What time is the closing? What time? Those are all things that are coming from somebody that I have no control over what their schedule is.
I also feel like there's so many people involved now that I'm like, is it like when you go to send something, you're like, is everybody that needs to be on this?
Yeah.
Are we sending this to the right person? I feel like, okay, there's, an attorney and a paralegal and a this and a that. And I'm just like, is everybody here? Is everybody accounted for?
Yeah. Do we have enough life jackets?
Do we have enough life jackets in the boat?
It's interesting too, because we're doing a transaction right now where the listing agent on it and the loan officer, which we have done a transaction with before. And I am going to invite him to come on to the show with us.
Yeah.
He does such a great job with communication. His whole staff does.
Yeah.
And every Friday I get a call or a text message from him. And he texted me yesterday and said, hey, Sharon, I just wanted to follow up. I just wanted to let you know that everything is on track for the commitment letter that is due to be issued on the 23rd, blah, 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 blah. Last week he left me a voice message. And I sent him a text last night after I had seen it. Mark and I went out, and when we came home, it was probably like 8:30ish, I guess. And I sent him a text, and I was like, I just want to let you know, you are really good at your job.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, he doesn't need any type of accolade from me, certainly, you know what I mean? Whatever. But I wanted him to know that I see it and I appreciate it. And what is the basis of why I feel that way? Because he's communicating with me.
Yeah. You guys are chatting.
Yeah. It's important because it didn't wake me up at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
To say, oh my gosh, when's the commitment letter due on that property?
It saved you the heartburn.
Yeah, exactly. Bye-bye, Prilosec or whatever. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
For heartburn?
So. Yeah. So fear of missing out. So the pressure of today's market. So fear of missing out in real estate. So competitive markets create urgency. It's that feeling that you get that you have to, put in an offer. You have to do all these things before you do your due diligence, which is not necessarily true. Multiple offer situations increase pressure. Do you feel that that's true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Buyers feel that they must act fast or lose out. Again, communication. So buyer's agents should call that listing agent and say, hey, I just want to make sure that your offer deadline is true for Monday. Even, it could be Friday. So if you put in an offer, make it good through that, timeline. Or does the seller reserve the right to accept an offer beforehand? So being able to have that communication with that listing agent, so your client isn't, having heart palpitations.
Yeah, and I do think that this time of year, especially, I feel like there's a lot of that FOMO with people. So when there are multiple offer situations, that can go one of two ways, and we've seen it both ways. That if there's multiple offers, people are like, well, you went through it, like you got depressed. You're like, I don't have a chance. You know what I mean? So that was one emotion. One is the adrenaline rush of like, I got to be the winner. You know what I mean? And then I think the other emotion is, I'm out. I am not going to be part of this, this rodeo. I just don't want to have a pony in the race. I just don't want to. So, trying to stir that energy of getting multiple offers sometimes can backfire on sellers. So sometimes, bird in the hand is better than several in the bush. I don't even get that.
Bird in the hand. I don't know.
I don't think a bird in the hand sounds good to me at all.
No. Do you even like birds?
No, not really.
All right. Well, that's why it doesn't sound good to you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate birds, but I don't want to hold them.
Yeah. I don't want to hold a bird either. But maybe when you have the arm out thing, some of those things that you swoop down.
I think that's called a parakeet or parrot.
A toucan?
A toucan, maybe.
Toucan Sam?
Fruit Loops, maybe.
Yeah.
That's fall on your nose!
Sam. Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to hold a bird. But so where pressure comes from for buyers, I think we talked about this: low inventory, multiple offer situations, offer deadlines, I just said. And then social pressure too. So it's, if you're in the market with, people in your life and you're seeing them win, or get their house, you want that for yourself too. But it takes time. Relax. It's okay. There's always another one. So how it feels for buyers, you feel this sense of urgency, you have anxiety, and of course fear of missing out on the one. And
that's the thing too, is I really do feel for our first time home buyers right now, especially because, the price of houses right now is it's just astronomical. And being able to save to have enough for a down payment and having enough to get even into the market is just a lot of stress on people. So it does sort of halt other chapters in your life and other milestones that you may want to reach. And I've seen a lot of people who are opting to, all right, I'm not going to rent anymore. I'm going to move home with mom and dad, and we'll save money that way. So we can then get the house, maybe get into a house that we want. But it's is it also holding you back on starting your family or, I don't know, job opportunities? All right, I don't want to take this job opportunity because I'm living with my parents right now, but I know I'm not always going to be living with my parents. So I want to make sure that I'm buying a house that's, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. I think some of the pressure from FOMO is offering well over asking. So that's the emotional value, waiving certain contingencies, and making decisions too quickly. So, buyer's remorse. You don't want buyer's remorse, which we have a section next. And I know that we're running out of time, because we do want to talk about a couple things that are coming on the market soon. But, I think an important reality check is knowing that there will always be another home. When it comes to sellers, that's your baby and you love it. But in reality, there's one just like it somewhere else. So not every home is the one. So don't feel like you have to make rush decisions because those often lead to regret.
I would rather work with somebody for 2 years than have them make a decision that they're not happy with in a year. I don't want to sell your house in a year. Mm-hmm. I just don't. I mean, I will if you need me to, but I just don't want you to ever be in that predicament. It's only going to cost you money in the end, and that isn't what this is all about.
Yeah. Do you want to continue with this, or do you want to give a little sneak peek of some things that are coming on the market in the next couple months?
Yeah. So I guess we'll just wrap this up, and then we can talk about that. Just the emotional impact that, buying and selling a home. We understand that it is extremely filled with emotions, whether it's excitement or stress or anything. That's what we're here for. You can see this morning on our show, we had several of our full-time real estate agents here. They're chiming in, and, we're hearing a great topic, from Melissa Clemens said that, we're here. These are discussions that we're having in our office every day when we're all hanging out and we're all talking, and we're talking about, how can we be better agents for our clients and for our family and friends and everything. So just know that if you do choose a real estate agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate, whether it's me or one of the other full-time agents that are here, I know next week you're going to be here with Tracy Grady. And then the following week you'll be here with Kristen. I'm going to be taking a couple weeks off from the show. Yeah, so you can always get in touch with us. Check out all of our agents at bostonconnect.com. You can meet our whole entire team here at Boston Connect Real Estate. And of course, if you want to get a haircut, go to Just the Clip in Bridgewater Center with Jess Page. And she can talk real estate with you while you're getting your haircut because, even though like she's on a new venture and chapter in her life, she knows a lot about real estate. So, and then, coming up, I know I've been doing a lot of CMAs. We've been seeing comparative market analysis, pricing proposals for people. Some of them are in positions where I have to find someplace before I can get to where I'm going. I'm going to need some help next week writing a letter to a certain neighborhood in town to see if anybody is going to be selling over there. So if anybody from Center Commons is listening right now and you're thinking about selling, please give me a call because I have a client that would love to live in that area in your neighborhood. So there's potentially, a 3-bedroom Cape coming on in Pembroke. There's a 4-bedroom colonial with a beautiful sunroom, I'm going to call it. I love that in Norwell. That should be coming on soon. Right after Easter, I have a 4-bedroom colonial coming on the market in Pembroke. So if you are interested in that, you can give me a call on that. And then I'm going to, in April, Mary and I are going to be having a listing in Marshfield. Mm-hmm. And that's a 3-bedroom colonial as well. Meticulously maintained, beautiful home. Really great location in Marshfield. And then another 4-bedroom colonial with probably one of the nicest outdoor swimming pool, in-ground pool with hot tub and cabana area. And that has a lot of the 4 bedrooms, lots of space. That's going to be coming on the market soon as well. My guess on that is right after Easter.
What town?
That's in Marshfield. Yeah, Marshfield. So great neighborhood. And I haven't finalized any of the prices, so I don't even really want to give any of the ranges. But, if you're following the market in any of those towns, you'll probably get an idea that these houses are going to be on the market from 700 all the way up to over $1 million. So if you are in the market right now and you'd want more information, feel free to give me a call on my phone. Those are the listings I have, 781-294-4848, 781-294-4848, or Sharon at bostonconnect.com.
Yeah. And you have one more unit over in Cushing Trail?
Yeah, one unit left over at Cushing Trails. That's the fastest selling development that we've had with Stonebridge. We only have one left. That's on the market for $799. So that is a condo, just one left. And then over at Cochise Estates, Mary is going to be there today from 10 to 2. And I believe Kristen is going to be there tomorrow, 10 to 2. We just opened phase 3 most recently, so we have some beautiful new layouts. The Meadowview Grand, which is my favorite so far. So we have those. Anybody else have any open houses or anything?
Kristen Hallett's doing an open house today at 170 Pleasant Street in Whitman from 11 to 12:30. That is on the market for $7.99. And then Matt Mahoney has a listing, 575 First Parish Road in Scituate. He will be there tomorrow, 11 to 1. That is on the market for $820.
And we have other listings in the office, so feel free to go to bostonconnect.com. You'll find all of our listings. Again, you'll find all of our agents there. And just have a wonderful, wonderful day. And happy spring, everybody. Bye, Tim. Have a great day.
Bye. Happy
everybody.
spring.
A beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood. A neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood.